Gridlock. Sirens fade. Hospitals run on backup until they don't. Some cities are more lethal than war zones, and you're probably living in one of them. This is how major the US cities actually fail. Not with explosions, but with silence, delay, and denial. Normalcy bias whispers that tomorrow will look like yesterday, and it keeps people seated in cars, apartments, and ER lobbies, while the clock quietly empties them out. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which cities turn lethal first, why they do it, and how to recognize the flip before you're trapped inside it. Here's the part most people miss. The first 72 hours decide almost everything, and they punish hesitation, not ignorance. If you're still listening, this is where comfort dies and outcomes split. Because the people who act early survive quietly, while everyone else crowds the same exits at the same time. What feels calm is already collapsing. What feels delayed is already denied. If you need confirmation before you move, you're already behind the people who won't be waiting anymore. Now.
Violence is loud, obvious, and rare compared to what actually wipes people out. What kills most city dwellers is density chained to dependency. Millions of people relying on the same fragile systems at the same time with no margin for interruption. Gangs and riots make headlines. Silent system failure fills morgues. People imagine collapse as something external. Attackers, fires, roaming threats. That belief is comforting because it frames survival as defense. The reality is quieter and more lethal. Elevators stop. Water pressure drops. Pharmacies close. Supply trucks don't arrive. Strong institutions feel safe until they vanish overnight. And when they do, the city doesn't explode. It starves, dehydrates, and freezes in place. By the end of this section, you'll understand why cities with the most resources become unlivable first, and why preparing for violence while ignoring dependency is a losing strategy. You'll stop asking who might attack you and start asking what you can't live without, because that list is what traps you. Here's the internal enemy nobody wants to confront: urban habit. The routine of outsourcing survival to systems you don't control. Food arrives daily. Water flows automatically. Help is a phone call away. That comfort trains passivity. When stress hits, people don't adapt. They wait for restoration. Waiting is the fatal behavior. If you're still with me, this is where the illusion breaks. The danger isn't that systems fail, it's that they fail unevenly, forcing everyone into the same choke points at once. The stronger and more centralized the system, the more catastrophic the delay when it stalls. This is why violence-focused prepping fails so reliably. It prepares you for confrontation while the environment collapses around you. You don't need enemies to die in a city. You just need everything you rely on to pause, without warning or mercy. Cities don't kill you with violence. They kill you by making you dependent, then removing the thing you depended on. Once you see that, every crowded street, high-rise, and service hub starts looking less like protection and more like a countdown starting now. You don't need predictions to know which cities will kill you.
You need a filter that strips away emotion and exposes structural failure before panic, violence, or headlines arrive. Without that filter, people rely on instinct, news, and hope. Those are the three things that fail first. Here's the promise. By the end of this framework, you'll be able to look at any major US city and know, within minutes, whether it becomes a death trap or a survivable environment when systems break. You'll stop arguing about politics, crime, or luck, and start seeing pressure, timing, and flow, the things that actually decide outcomes. This is the death trap filter. It doesn't predict chaos, it predicts collapse velocity. Once you see cities through this lens, maps change. Safe places look exposed. Dangerous places reveal exits. You can't unsee it, and that's the point. The filter has 4 rules. Compression. This measures how many people are forced to compete for the same resources, spaces, and decisions at once. High compression turns minor disruptions into lethal bottlenecks. It feels efficient in normal times. Under stress, it becomes suffocating. Dependency speed. This tracks how fast a population runs out of essentials without resupply: food, water, power, medication. Cities with high dependency speed don't decline gradually. They hit a wall, then collapse inward. Exit friction. This measures how hard it is to leave once people decide to move. Roads, fuel access, choke points, enforcement, panic. Low exit friction buys time. High exit friction converts delay into entrapment. Institutional delay. This is the gap between failure and effective response. People trust institutions because they've always been there. In collapse, response arrives after behavior has already locked in. If you're still reading carefully, this is where the shift happens. Most people mentally quit here because frameworks feel abstract. They aren't. They're predictive weapons. This filter tells you why violence usually shows up after the damage is done, not before. The key is this: none of these rules are emotional. None care about intent or morality. They describe physics, timing, and human behavior under pressure. Cities don't fail because people are bad. They fail because systems are tight, fast, sticky, and slow to respond. Once you understand these 4 forces, fear gets replaced by clarity, and clarity forces decisions most people delay until it's too late. That delay is why survivors move early, while crowds wait for official permission.
Crowds aren't neutral. They aren't incidental. In a city, density becomes a weapon faster than any militia or riot. People trust density because it signals availability. Hospitals within a few blocks, stores on every corner, police stations at the end of the street. It feels safe. It feels organized. It feels survivable. That feeling is the trap. The truth is brutal. When systems pause, all those people want the same few things at the same time: water, food, medicine, shelter. That's not just inconvenient, it's catastrophic. One broken generator, one empty store shelf, one delayed delivery turns hundreds into thousands, scrambling for the same resource. Crowds aren't patient. Crowds aren't calm. They accelerate failure. Look at the math you never see. Each additional person in a finite space doesn't just add risk, it multiplies it. The probability of conflict, gridlock, and collapse grows geometrically. A city that feels alive, energetic, thriving, that's the one that suffocates first. The same density that feeds economies feeds panic when the lines form and the shelves empty. Here's the pattern most miss. The noise of normal life masks the pressure building beneath it. Stores open, lights on, sirens wailing. But behind every facade, the timer ticks. People don't notice until the first shelves are bare, the first fuel station closes, the first ambulance is trapped in traffic. Silence follows, and it's louder than any gunshot because it signals the real failure. Systems are no longer keeping pace with people. If you're still paying attention, this is where clarity hits. Most survival advice ignores compression because it's invisible in good times. But compression predicts which urban arteries jam first and which neighborhoods become unlivable in the first 24 hours. It isn't theory, it's applied crowd math, and the cities that feel most vibrant collapse fastest. Compression is also psychological. Dense populations breed dependency, and dependency breeds hesitation. People assume someone else will manage the crisis, refill the shelves, keep the lights on. That assumption kills more than fire, looters, or storms. You aren't fighting others yet, you're fighting the architecture of waiting. The counterintuitive truth? Cities that feel empty, quiet, or stagnant often survive the initial stress longer than the buzzing metropolises everyone wants to be in. Survival isn't about comfort, it's about space, flow, and breathing room. The lesson is simple, but ignored. The places people love first, the places everyone crowds, become death traps first. By the time it hits, the shelves are gone, the streets are packed, the generators whine and die. The noise stops. People realize too late that their density, what they relied on as protection, is what is killing them. And if you don't see it now, you're about to be swept into the first wave of failure. Cities are deathly efficient until they aren't.
People assume systems are endless. Deliveries arrive daily, power hums steadily,
Water flows on demand. That assumption is what kills them. Life in a modern city doesn't taper off during collapse. It stops on a clock most people never measure. Hours become shortages. Days become crises. Weeks are a distant dream for those still waiting. Most residents trust just-in-time supply chains because they've never experienced interruption. Groceries, medicine, fuel, everything arrives when expected. That reliability trains passivity. People stock little, rely heavily, and plan for convenience rather than resilience. It feels smart, it feels efficient, and then it isn't. A single logistical hiccup cascades through a dense, dependent population faster than panic can spread. The first shortages are quiet, almost invisible. Empty shelves, gas pumps with lines, delayed ambulances. Minor, correctable, ignorable. But the clock doesn't pause. Food, water, and medications run out in days, not weeks. Hospitals stop treating non-critical cases first, and suddenly the everyday city you trusted becomes hostile. People who assume stability discover their routines were illusions. Here's the hidden danger most don't calculate. Outside assistance arrives slower than personal depletion. Relief is reactive, not proactive. Trucks must navigate congestion, fuel scarcity, and miscommunication, while people's needs spike exponentially. By the time aid reaches the masses, the first wave of casualties has already occurred. Cities don't starve slowly, they choke quickly. If you're still listening, pay attention. This is where survival separates thinkers from followers. The lesson isn't just that resources run out, it's that timing is absolute. Those who understand the clock act early. Those who wait, even a day, get caught in cascading failure. This isn't theory, it's physics applied to dependency. Contrast what feels safe with what actually kills. A stocked store doesn't guarantee survival if everyone else is emptying it the same day. A functioning hospital doesn't save lives if your medications vanish before you reach the door. Dependency speed converts comfort into fragility, routine into risk. The city isn't failing slowly, it's accelerating toward choke points you can't see until it's too late. Life in these environments feels effortless, organized, predictable, until it stops. And when it stops, hesitation, disbelief, and habitual reliance become lethal. Every second you wait, every assumption you maintain, compounds the risk. The faster you understand the clock, the more likely you are to escape its lethal rhythm. This isn't about stockpiles or heroics. It's about seeing the speed of collapse, measuring it, and acting before your neighborhood hits zero. Miss that, and the city's efficiency works against you, turning routine dependency into a countdown to failure.
If you're still watching, this is where most people mentally quit and where survival actually begins. The lie everyone tells themselves is simple. I'll just leave when it starts. It feels proactive. It feels like control. It isn't. That assumption is the single fastest way ordinary people become casualties during urban collapse. Exits fail not because roads are destroyed, but because too many people try to use them at the same time. Streets designed for normal traffic choke instantly under stress. Fuel runs out faster than you can fill your tank. Police or military checkpoints, once invisible, suddenly dictate who moves and who waits. Panic waves ripple through highways like shock waves. Honest drivers trapped behind aggressive, desperate vehicles. The road becomes the trap, and most of the city's population enters it without a second thought. The hidden danger here is subtle. Leaving late isn't just delayed, it multiplies risk. People assume staying is dangerous and leaving is safe. In reality, the exodus kills more than staying put ever would. Crashes, ambushes, stampedes at fuel stations, gridlock that turns streets into lethal bottlenecks. What looks like freedom, hitting the highway, is often the fastest path to death. Dependency hits again. The same people who relied on constant systems now rely on open roads and available fuel. Both are finite. And while you're stuck in traffic, you're not accessing food, water, medical aid, or shelter. Every mile you fail to cover compounds exposure. Strong, confident drivers get trapped just like everyone else, and the illusion of control dies before the first block ends. If you've stayed this far, you're already ahead and in danger. Ahead because you see the pattern others ignore. In danger because knowing the danger doesn't stop the clock. Cities that are dense, dependent, and fast-moving Ensure that delayed movement isn't neutral, it's lethal. The people who survive don't wait for permission, and they don't trust that leaving is simple. They calculate friction, congestion, and risk before moving, and they leave on their own terms. Contrast what feels manageable with what actually kills. Streets that look navigable collapse under the first wave of mass movement. Bridges, tunnels, and choke points turn from assets into traps. Emergency routes that seem obvious are blocked by panicked crowds and abandoned vehicles. You think you're escaping, but the city is closing in around you while your assumptions slow you down. Leaving late is worse than never leaving at all. Waiting for a signal, waiting for order, waiting for chaos to settle, every second you hesitate amplifies risk. The clock is merciless. The roads are crowded. The population is moving as one deadly organism. Understanding exit friction isn't optional. It's survival's gatekeeper. Miss it, and the city that seemed alive simply swallows you whole.
People assume help arrives instantly. Sirens, uniforms, emergency alerts. They signal stability, competence, authority. That trust is a quiet killer. In reality, institutions operate on schedules, protocols, and bureaucracy, not urgency. The moment collapse accelerates beyond those timelines, the system becomes irrelevant. Strong on day 1, dead by month 3. It's the hidden rhythm most ignore. Hospitals triage. Police respond selectively. Relief agencies prioritize logistics over individuals. People wait because they believe the system will rescue them. They queue at shelters, gather at supply points, and trust that lines will move. Those lines, however, concentrate the very thing that kills quietly: crowds, delays, and dependency. The safest looking spaces become pressure cookers, packed with bodies and expectations, waiting for aid that cannot arrive fast enough. Contrast perception with reality. You think you're protected because a uniformed officer or flashing vehicle appears nearby. You think the emergency declaration guarantees resources. But collapse doesn't negotiate schedules. Systems lag behind the velocity of need. 1 hour of delay multiplies risk. 1 day compounds it exponentially. Those who count on institutions without contingency are already casualties in waiting. Dependency doubles as the internal enemy. The more people rely on centralized structures, the faster frustration escalates, decisions fail, and panic spreads. It's invisible at first. People trust patterns in routines. Then shelves empty, generators fail. Emergency services are overwhelmed. The very infrastructure designed to stabilize society accelerates collapse when it can't keep pace. If you've stayed this long, pay attention. This is the inflection point most never anticipate. Crowds that formed around help now amplify scarcity. Each person expecting aid contributes to congestion, hoarding, and friction that kills faster than the original failure. Those who understand institutional delay don't wait. They act independently, reduce reliance, and avoid centralized pressure points entirely. Here's the twist few internalize. The bigger, more organized, and more heavily equipped a shelter or resource hub looks, the deadlier it becomes under stress. Early on, it's orderly. By week 3, it's chaotic. By month 3, it's lethal. Systems that appear strongest on paper are the ones that fail hardest in practice. Understanding institutional delay doesn't mean mistrusting aid. It means predicting its limits and planning around them. The city's response is always behind. Every person who waits for it adds to congestion and risk. The difference between survival and death isn't the strength of the institution, it's the speed and independence of the individual. Miss that, and the very help you counted on becomes part of the problem. The people who survive cities when everything fails aren't the loud, flashy, or armed. They're quiet. They move lightly. They are disciplined, boring, and invisible. Survival isn't about the newest gear, the biggest bug-out bag, or the most dramatic plan. It's about functioning when the noise and chaos crush everyone else. Gear doesn't save you. Ego doesn't save you. Low visibility and low dependency do. Most advice glorifies preparation as spectacle. Armories and basements, fortified apartments, tactical fantasies. That's not survival. Those who survive urban collapse operate on a different metric. They minimize reliance on fragile systems. They leave before streets jam. They avoid attention like it's poison. They look unprepared, and that is exactly why they are resilient.
The cities that can still be survived are rarely the obvious targets. Dense, resource-rich metropolises suffocate first. Medium-density, flexible neighborhoods allow movement. Smaller satellite communities can be bypassed, exploited for resources, or used as staging grounds. The winner doesn't argue about the city's reputation. They read the dynamics: compression, dependency, exit friction, institutional delay, and they act before the crowd even notices the failure. Discipline is the final differentiator. Survivors know their limits, their needs, and their dependencies. They move early, fast, and deliberately. They do not wait for permission, announcements, or instructions. They don't participate in crowd panic or scramble for diminishing resources. Their success is invisible to observers until the chaos has passed, and the rest are stuck, exhausted, or worse. By the end of this, you'll recognize who survives and why. The winner strategy isn't flashy. It's silent. It's preventive. It's about controlling visible others ignore, when to move, what to carry, and how little you require from a collapsing city. If you can't strip down fantasy and comfort, you'll never occupy that space. Look unprepared. Function resilient. Move before the system kills you. Start today. Map your dependencies with brutal honesty. Where does your food come from? Water? Electricity? Fuel? Note every choke point, every assumption, every fragile link. Identify your exits, the fastest routes, the slowest, and the alternate paths no one talks about. This isn't planning for fantasy. It's cataloging vulnerability. Over the next 7 days, reduce exposure. Rehearse movement as if every street, intersection, and building could fail tomorrow. Cut assumptions about access, availability, and timing. Practice what happens when a routine system disappears. Test it. Fail in rehearsal so you don't fail when it counts. By 30 days, lock in redundancy. Move beyond the obvious. Social distance from failure zones, high compression neighborhoods, centralized supply hubs, and predictable traffic arteries. Build flexibility into every decision. Every redundant option is another second, another opportunity, another life saved. This plan is boring because it works. It doesn't reward excitement or showmanship. It replaces fear with clarity. Dependency is amputated. Comfort is minimized. Control is maximized. The people who survive are the ones who act deliberately, while the crowd waits for instructions. Every day you delay, every assumption you maintain, compounds risk. The city doesn't pause for hesitation, and help doesn't arrive on schedule. Your margin disappears quietly, invisibly, but irreversibly. Start now, or the clock in the city will decide for you. Collapse doesn't care about your gear, your spreadsheets, or your curated stockpile. It doesn't reward preparation rituals or heroic fantasies. It rewards the least dependent, the quiet, the disciplined, the ones willing to move while everyone else waits. Ask yourself, are you a collector, obsessed with objects and appearance, or a survivor, obsessed with function and timing? Most people think survival is about what they own. Reality? It's about what they can do when everything they rely on disappears overnight. This is your mirror. Every assumption, every comfort, every dependency you cling to becomes a chain. Break it, or become another cautionary tale. Collapse doesn't wait, it doesn't negotiate, and it certainly doesn't forgive. Which one are you, collector or survivor? Choose quickly. The city isn't patient, and neither are the consequences.